that is education, nature and purposes. First block, that is concept and nature of education, which includes concept and meaning of education, education as a field of knowledge, scope of education, and characterizing education. So it has 4 units, that is block 1, MES-12. So let's start. Education and its etymological derivation. So the etymological meaning, or the very origin of the word education, comes from 4 Latin words. They are educare, educier, educatum, e plus duco. So educare refers to bring up, to nourish. Educier means to bring forth, to draw out, and E implies a movement from inward to outward, and duco refers to developing of progressing. So all of these, if we take into consideration all the 4 concepts or the derivative meaning of education, refer to one particular thing, that is the modification of behavior, refinement of character, all-round development of personality. It includes the different aspects of personality, the mental, the that includes the intellectual or cognitive aspect, then the social aspect, then we see the physical aspect. So all these things are taken into consideration, and education is all about modification of behavior. So it aims at providing a learner or a child nourishing environment to bring out and develop the latent potentiality hidden inside him. That is, the potentialities or the internal qualities are to be developed. The internal qualities external, so that these qualities are seen in your behavior. They are manifested in your behavior, in your personality. Again, if you see in our Indian context, this particular word comes from that Gurukula Parampara or Gurukula Ashram system during the Vedic times. And this word comes from Sanskrit word, that is Shiksha and Vidya. Shas meaning to discipline or to control. The very word Siksha, which comes from Shas, S-H-A-S, the meaning of which is to discipline or to control. So here the student will be just like a disciple. He will lead the life of a brahmacharya, a disciplined life. He has to control all the sense organs. Then the word vid, from the word vidya has come from the word vid, which means to know. So here discipline and knowledge is to be combined. A learner must be disciplined and develop a curiosity to acquire new knowledge to lead a fruitful life. So 2 things we see. One, the learner must be disciplined, and the second is what? He should have a desire to learn. He should have a thirst for knowledge, a quest for knowledge. That is important. Then we see education as a spiritual pursuit. Here we see that Indian spiritual thinkers have been propagating education as a means of achieving spiritual goals, that is, attainment of salvation. Education is that whose end product is salvation. That is according to the very definition of Upanishad. Then Rig Veda says education is something which makes a man self-reliant and selfless. These all definition point towards one thing, that is how education will help us to move from ignorance to enlightenment, to understand the real essence of life, to have self-realization, attainment of liberation, attainment of mukti. Then, according to Vivekananda, education is the manifestation of divine perfection already existing in man. So here, each and every individual has some of the other internal qualities or abilities gifted by God, at the time of his or her birth, that is the inborn qualities. These internal qualities are to be developed, are to be manifested, are to be shown in your behavior, in your personality through the process of education. So here we see that it is a process where we can develop the qualities, latent or hidden qualities of the individual, so that the child is reared and taken care of, nourished. Overall development of the child takes place. Then these all activities aim towards one thing, that is attainment of salvation. Then education, development of innate human potentialities. So according to Plato, education develops in the body and soul of the pupil all the beauty and all the perfection he is capable of. So it is the ultimum development or the maximum development of the internal qualities or potentialities or capability the child has. The educational institution, the teacher, the school should look into the matter that how to have total personality development of the child. Again, according to Froebel, education is the unfoldment of what is already enfolded in the gene. The genes are the carrier of heredity, and human behavior is the outcome of interaction of environment and heredity. So both environment and heredity play an important role for humans' behavior, the way one acts, reacts. Here we can say the qualities that are found in the genes, in the chromosomes, right from the parents we receive it. They are developed through the process of education according to the very definition of Froebel. Then, according to Gandhiji, he says that an all-round drawing out of the best in child and man, body, mind, and spirit. He considers the physical aspect, that is the body, the intellectual or mental aspect, that is the mind, and spirit, that is the social aspect. Sorry, spirit, that is the spiritual aspect. So these all things are to be taken into consideration. The mental aspect, the physical aspect, the spiritual aspect. That's why mind, body, and soul. These three things and many more things come into consideration so that all-round development is possible, right from childhood to adulthood. Then, education, social orientation of the human being. Education is a means to achieve larger societal goals, and it is a subsystem of the macro societal system. So here, society is a bigger system, as we know, and education is a subsystem, just like your political, economic, and other subgroups or subsystem. Here it emphasizes the orientation to achieve the social goals. Education should aim at the upliftment of the society, the total social development, which is focused in the social aim of education. So according to Kautilya, education means training for the country and love for the nation. That is, education should develop, should inculcate patriotic feelings, patriotic values, love for the nation, cooperative attitude, mutual respect, tolerance, patience, respect towards other religious people, respect towards other caste, class. So here we see that according to Kautilya, training for the country and love for the nation. So here this education performs a bigger role. That is, one should not have narrow-minded thought process. You should have broader vision. All education proceeds by the participation of the individual in the social consciousness of the race. This is according to John Dewey. Social consciousness of the race. That means you are an individual. You should be aware of your existence. You should be aware of your duties and rights. You should become a helpful citizen, an effective citizen, so that all entire society, if each and every individual in the entire society thinks just like this, then the entire society will develop. First, the individual should develop. And as we know that society is a group of individuals, they live together, they share their feelings, they interact. So if individuals develop, then only social development can take place. Then we see, according to Murray, education is concerned with what is said about education by those who practice it, that is the teachers, and by those who theorize about it, that is the educational theorist. So according to Murray, education is all about what the teachers say and what the educational theorists have to say. The educational theorists are at the upper hand, and at the grassroots level, the teachers perform. Practically, the teaching is carried out by the teachers. The theorists, what they have theorized or what they have given, that is to be taken into consideration while framing the curriculum, and accordingly the teacher performs. So we can say that arising out of these ground floor activities is what the higher order activity is done by educational theorizing, which results in some kind of educational theory, and more accurately the educational theories. So theories are framed first, and accordingly they are carried out through the process of teaching and learning, that is in the classroom. Then here the role and function of education is what, that is, we can say that there are different theories which say about the role and functions of education. For example, we have descriptive theories and prescriptive theories. Education is the most effective way, the only way of socializing the young, converting the animal instinct into humane qualities. So education does realize what it purports to realize. That means education should carry out all those activities for which it is meant. It should do justice for which it has been created. Whether education does it or does not, that is a big question mark. So here, theories of this kind are called descriptive theories, which describe what education should do, how it should perform the different roles so that the individual has a good persona and the overall society is also benefited by the performance of the individual. So in a way, the well-being of the individual is directly related to the well-being of the society. Then we move on to the second theory, that is, the other kind of educational theory is one which, instead of describing the role or function of education, rather makes specific recommendation about what those are engaged in educational practice ought to be doing. So according to Murray, these theories are called as practical theories or pedagogical theories. Here we see teachers are engaged into teaching and the new material is introduced to the student. Again, teachers should pay attention that the new material is in link with the past study so that the child will able to understand. He will able to recollect the things, try to assimilate the new things, try to place the ideas in a hierarchical order, that is from simple to complex, from known to unknown, from concrete to abstract, from near to far. These are all the maxims of teaching. Then we move on to, these theories are called general theories of education in that they give comprehensive prescriptions recommending the production of a particular type of person and a specific type of society. So these prescriptive theories are otherwise also known as, just like as a doctor gives a prescription, So these are prescriptions for the teacher, how to carry out the teaching process. What are things to be included? How the pedagogical thing is to be arranged. The teaching learning process is to be organized in a very systematic and logical way. A practical theory involves commitment to some end, thought to be worth accomplishing. Everything a teacher does in the classroom has a theory behind it. All practice is theory loaded, and an educational theory is logically prior to the educational practice. So here, first the theory comes, then the educational practices come. The educational theorists have to first formulate the theories, and accordingly the the theories are to be practically carried out in the classroom. For example, if we take the example of philosopher like Rousseau, in his book Emile, he describes the different types of theories, that is about sense training, physical training, negative education. All these things come under his educational philosophy or general theories of education. So, in this way, we see that these are the two important theories. That is, first is your descriptive theory, and the second one is your pedagogical theory. Now, the two approaches to the general theory of education. So here we see that it recommends certain pedagogical procedures to be put into practice. But between the aim and procedure, that must be certain assumption about the raw material the person is to be educated. The human nature is to be to some extent malleable, that what happens to the pupil by way of experience has some lasting effect on his subsequent behavior. So here, the past knowledge holds an important place. It also affects the present behavior. These assumptions reflect the mechanistic, organic account of the phenomena of education. So according to Thomas Hobbes, compared a wonderfully contrived machine. So Thomas Hobbes considered man to be just like a machine having different parts. That is, like a machine has different levers, different parts, cogs. All these are taken into consideration to form a machine. In the similar way, according to Thomas Hobbes, human being is just like a machine with different parts or subsystems. But in contrast to this thought process, Froebel says that model of a man is just like a living, growing and developing creature as a natural whole. So, Froebel consider that human beings are living beings. They are not non-living things just like machine. He has an opposite view in comparison to Hobbes. And according to Froebel, human being is a whole, entire body. It is a system which consists of different subsystems. He has the thinking process, he has a mind, thought process, feeling aspect, reacting. All these things come into consideration. The way the person reacts, he behaves, the demands of the situation, and accordingly the individual tries to adapt to the situation. Sometimes he finds success, sometimes he doesn't succeed. So Froebel consider that is, human being is something more than just assembly of bones, muscles or nerves. So his definition of human being is something different. He says human being is just not a lump sum of bones, muscles and nerves. It has its own identity. It has the ability to think, rational being, ability to get civilized, socialize, the feeling aspect. Then we see that man is best understood in a terms of organismic model. So according to Froebel, he supports the organismic model, whereas Thomas Hobbes, he supports the mechanistic model. According to Hobbes, just like a mechanical parts are there in a machine, different parts are there, human being also consists of different types of parts, human body. But Froebel is opting for the organismic model. So teaching would be a matter of organizing desirable inputs, knowledge, skills and attitudes so that the educated man is one who is able to understand what is a value system. He is skillful, he is tactful, he is rational, he is socialized, civilized, and should also have some aesthetic sense. So here, whose behavioral outputs meet the criteria of worthwhileness adopted by his society. That is, your behavior should match up to the societal norms and regulation, the society's value system. So here the general theory of education is based on the organic view, and here we see that is man would tend to emphasize the internal principles of growth and development. Education would be not a modification or shaping from outside, but an attempt to encourage individual development from within. What does that mean? So it is nothing to be imposed upon from outside. It is an internal development. One has to internalize the very process of education. The teacher should not force the curriculum upon the child. Therefore, it should match up to the principles of growth and development. The curriculum should match up to the age level, the interest, the desire. So here even the teacher should have a very vital or important role to play. What is that? The teacher should be linked to the teaching learning process. He is not a person outside of this teaching learning process. As we see, that is, education is a bipolar process and a tripolar process. So bipolar process, this particular thing has been given by John Adams, and John Dewey says that it is a tripolar process. If we consider John Adams' view, that is, education is a bipolar process, in that case, one end we have the teacher and in another end we have the student. So if any of the ends disappear, then it is an incomplete process. Both the pillars are to be there. Then only the teaching learning process will take place smoothly. Otherwise, it will be only a one-sided affair. And if we consider John Dewey's concept, that is, education is a tripolar process, here we see that we have the social environment, then we have the teacher, then we have the student. That is, the teaching learning process is carried out in a social environment, and society influences the very teaching learning process. Both the teacher and taught are equally affected. So the teacher should also perform his or her duty very professionally and should try to psychologically satisfy his or her student. Then only the teaching learning process will be a success. Then, what are the different features or characteristics of education? So, it is a deliberate process. Why is it called as a deliberate process? Because it has been carried out purposefully. There are some predetermined aims and objectives that is decided in the educational philosophy. That is, educational philosophy gives us the philosophical base or the platform upon which the education's aims and objectives are prepared. And accordingly, we devise the curriculum and the methodology of teaching. So here, and It is a desire. It also, education represents a deliberate process to develop a desirable state of mind. That is, one of the most important feature is that it relates to some sort of process in which a desirable state of mind develops. Again, what is a desirable state of mind? The very word desire. Whose desire? That is the desire of the society in which you live. That is, you have to obey the norms and regulations of the society. Then only your behavior will be acceptable. A desirable behavior. A desirable behavior comes out from a desirable mind, which is to be designed accordingly, and it is to be organized in such a manner which suits to the rules and regulations of the society. Otherwise, you will be considered as an antisocial being. So here, education is an intentional activity. We do it intentionally. It doesn't come all of a sudden. It is a pre-planned activity. It is a deliberate activity. It is a purposeful activity. We have a purpose. We have a goal. We have an aim. So, then we move on to the process involved should essentially be worthwhile. Worthwhile. That is, the entire activity is considered fruitless if the very aim is not fulfilled. And the entire teaching learning process is considered fruitful if we achieve the objectives of teaching. It becomes worthwhile. We can take the example of lesson planning. We have general aims and specific objectives. And these aims and objectives are tested at the last part of our lesson planning. That is the application or the evaluation part, where we see as a teacher that whether our students have achieved it or not. The objectives we have selected or prepared or planned, have we achieved those or not? If not, then we go for some modification, some doubt clearing classes. And again, we try to go for an exam or a test to see whether we have achieved it or not. In the same way, the aims and objectives of the education are practically carried out in the classroom. And after the end of the teaching learning process, we have the examination part, where we can have a clear view regarding whether the aims and objectives have been fulfilled or not. And all those activities or processes which form the part or content of the education should be instrumentally, intrinsically valuable. Education is a value-laden term, or here we give emphasis or importance upon value system, whether that much of worth is there or not, whether the particular curriculum is worthwhile to be taught or not, or it is outdated, it requires some modification or some revision. Sometimes we see we have different boards functioning at the academic level, administrative level. They go for textbook revision, for syllabus revision, so that the things which are required for our present generation, only those things are included in our curriculum. So here, the process involved should be essentially worthwhile. Then, education suggests criteria to which processes must conform. So, education is not a concept that confirms or sets any particular types of processes, such as training, or an activity such as lecturing. It rather suggests criteria to which all processes and activities involved, such as training, instruction, etc. must confirm. What is of value should not be external of the activity but intrinsic. Here, both the instrumental and molding mode of education provide a caricature of this necessary feature of desirability by conceiving of what is worthwhile as an end brought about by the process or as a pattern imposed on the child's mind. So, here, according to this particular characteristic or feature of education, criteria to which processes must conform. The teaching learning process should conform to what? What are the criteria to be tested against? Whether those processes do have that potentiality to achieve the aims and objectives, whether that methodology of teaching is capable enough for reaching, fulfilling the aims and objectives, for achieving the goals. One has to select only those methods or techniques which will help, which are worthwhile of selecting to get to achieve the aims. That is, we require those methodology which has a good impression upon the child's mind. Child-centered approach, where the main focus is upon the interest, attitude, need, age level, requirements of the child. Over here, both the mechanistic and organismic model combinedly, both of these have been taken together, so that the very aim of education will be getting clear about and focus of attention on what is worth achieving. It is not to ask for the production of ends external to education. So here, education is a process through which we'll be able to get the goals of education, to be a valuable, educated, efficient human being who has some worth. We are not going to be a worthless person. Then, mechanistic and the growth model of education and emergence of progressive ideology. So the utilitarian and molding models of education were challenged. They were replaced by models which were likened education to a natural process of development in which the individual grows like a plant towards something which is desirable. Gradually, a positive child-centered ideology emerged. So, the Thomas Hobbes view was challenged. Froebel's view of growth and development was, or organismic view, was given more emphasis, which led to the development of a positive child-centered ideology. Therefore, we are having a child-centered curriculum which focuses upon the potentialities of the child that are to be developed from within, making the curriculum or the teaching learning process arranged in such a manner which is conducive to the child's psychology. At first, the child should be psychologically satisfied. Physical comfort is to be provided. Mental stress is to be removed. Conducive atmosphere is to be provided to the child. The different laws of teaching learning is to be taken into consideration. For example, Thorndike's law of readiness. The child should be mentally and physically ready to understand something, to take the new knowledge. It is not like switching on the fan and the fan starts moving. One should not force the child to learn. It should come from internal, it should be an internal motivation, not an external one. So, this puts demands upon the teacher's performance, the curriculum one selects, the type of evaluation one carried out, These are the important things in the teaching learning process. And if these things are checked properly, then only a worthwhile educational system will develop and will be able to achieve our goals. Manner versus matter of education. We are focusing upon matter of education more than the manner of education. Manner means the way we present. Matter means the subject matter what we present. It's okay to focus upon the matter that is equally important, what is to be taught. But how it is to be taught is also important. A difficult thing, if it is presented in a difficult matter, the teacher has no credit for that. But if a difficult thing is presented in an easier manner, the credit goes to the teacher. So that the student feels that yes, I am capable enough to grasp that. Otherwise, he'll feel detached. If the child feels detached about this particular curriculum, then he'll not have any interest. There will be lack of motivation. He will be demotivated, only physically present and mentally absent. That should not be the case. So, the stress and importance of procedural principles are here. That is, learn by experience. All these principles stress the self-direction of the individual, which was ignored by the traditional teachers. Traditionally, the teachers were more concerned about the subject matters. They were least concerned about the manner in which the subject matters were dealt. But now, the main focus is upon the manner, how to present a thing, so that it becomes understandable in the case of the learner. There should not be any communication gap. That is, the ideas are to be carried from the teacher side to the student side. The flow of thought should be there. There should be clarity. The teacher should make the complicated thing into easier, should try to explain in an easier manner. So here we see that the main focus of this particular feature is that what is more important, therefore, is the manner of education, not its matter. It should not be stamping in of the information. One should not be overburdened with the information, piling upon the student the knowledge. No, that should not be the case. The student should feel comfortable to learn those things in a step-by-step way, according to the student's pace of learning, his mental capacity, age level. Again, whom to be considered as an educated person? Who is an educated person? What is the very definition of an educated person? Who has a greater degree? Who has attained lot of certificates? Or a person who is literate, along with it knows the worth of education, along with it has value in his life, shows respect towards others, contributes to the society, has mutual respect, tolerance, patience, sympathy, cooperative attitude, believes in peaceful coexistence. So, we should not call a person educated who knows about science but cares nothing for truth. We should not call a person educated who knows about science but cares nothing for truth, who regards it merely as a means to get certain benefits, that is, it can give to make life comfortable. But an educated man is initiated into the content of the activity or forms of knowledge in a meaningful way so that he knows what he is doing. For example, a reputed doctor goes for an operation and the patient is not able to pay. He disagrees to perform the operation. That person is not educated. He may be skilled, he may be literate, but he's not educated. Why so? Because he doesn't has the basic understanding of human life, the very essence of life. He's not doing justice to his profession. So here, this is the basic difference between an educated individual and a just literate fellow. So, caring about what is worthwhile, providing conditions and things to attain what is worthwhile. You should understand the worth of a particular thing and accordingly pay respect to that also. Then Plato's view, a synthesis of molding model and growth model. So here molding model and growth model, the combination of these two models, that is the view of Plato. So what is that? So Plato was convinced that there are truths to be grasped and standards to be achieved which are public objects of desire. But coercing people into seeing them in trying to imprint them on wax-like mind was both psychologically and morally unsound. Plato quite rightly emphasized that what the growth theorist evaded, that is, the necessity for an objectivity of standards written into the content of education. The emphasis is on seeing and grasping for oneself is important. So here, Plato and in the growth theorists suggest a third conceptual point about education in addition to those already made about that, the value of what is passed on and the manner in which it is to be assimilated. What you see, how you grasp and understand, and whether you are able to understand the worth of it or not. So the entire behavior has to grow or mold from within. Come out from within. The child should be able to understand from within and try to internalize the different value system. The concept of honesty, truthfulness, dedication is not to be learned by the child. The child should practice all these qualities so as to understand the real essence of it. This will help the child to develop the moral qualities, which is the very essence of humanity. Then, education, the cognitive perspective. That is, he is not educated though highly trained in our sense of terms. Education of the whole man. Witness not only to a protest against too much specialized training, but also to the conceptual connection between education and seeing. What is being done in a perspective that is not too limited. To be truly educated, one needs to have a vision of the profession he is engaged in. This is called the cognitive perspective, which need to be fully developed for a person to be called educated. One is professionally trained. The person has special training regarding that. Understand what he knows what to perform, how to perform. But does he have the potentiality to understand the value of that thing, the worth of that thing? the real essence of that particular thing, the meaning of that thing, or he is just carrying it out just for the income's sake, just to earn money. Fully professional, nothing to do with human ethics. So here, the cognitive perspectives say that along with the intellectual, mental development, value system should also be connected to that concept. So, educating the emotion versus training of emotion. So, training of emotion, we have chapters like emotional development, physical development, social development, where we see about emotional maturity, how an individual reacts. If a boss scolds the junior, that person, if he or she immediately starts crying, or he's keeping quiet, or immediately reacts in an awkward manner, the way he or she reacts will show the emotional maturity of that person. That particular person will not start crying because he is emotionally matured enough. But if a child is scolded, or the child is crying for a toy or a chocolate in the marketplace, and the parents, they start scolding, immediately the child starts crying. This shows the child is not emotionally mature. He doesn't know how to behave in a marketplace. So here, education should train the individual. Training of emotions is important. How to react, how to show sympathy, how to have empathy. So here, when we talk of training of emotion, the implications are different than when we talk of educating the emotion. Training is done by drilling a thing, by practicing a thing. Drilling means doing a thing again and again. It is a different thing. But educating means you will be able to internalize a particular concept. Try to understand a situation by putting yourself into that particular situation. How will you react in a particular situation? If the other person is reacting in a such and such manner, get into his shoes and understand the problems. Try to show empathy, not sympathy. Empathy is what you are able to feel the pain the individual is feeling, even though you are not in that particular situation. An educated person is a person who pays respect to others' emotion, who has emotional maturity, who is able to empathize. Showing kindness is a different thing. Then, knowing how procedural knowledge and knowing that propositional knowledge. So the connection between education and cognitive content explain why it is the some activities seem rather more than others to be so obviously of educational importance. Knowing how rather than of knowing that. So here, yesterday I was talking about riding a bicycle. Theoretically, I'll explain how to ride a bicycle. But practically, when I'm saying it, I have to demonstrate how to ride a bicycle by literally having the balance, how you should have knowledge about the traffic rules, understand the road safety. So here, procedural knowledge and propositional knowledge. Procedural knowledge is the knowing how part, that is how to do a thing, and knowing that is the propositional knowledge, that is just like a statement. So, seeing the connection between education and cognitive content, one might say that education is nothing but instructing or teaching, but the main point here is surely not that education refers to any special sort of process which might be equated with instruction, training, or drill. Rather, it includes three basic criteria, that is, worthwhile. It should be worthwhile. Second, relevant knowledge and skills, which involve understanding and voluntariness. So, the knowledge should be worthwhile, the knowledge should be relevant, you can make use of that knowledge, it should come from within, that should not be imposed upon you. Then only we can say that the education process is successful. Then, education as an initiation. So, according to Peter, what he has to say, it is more closely, education involves processes that introduce people to what is valuable in an intelligible and voluntary manner, and that create in the learner a desire to achieve it. So intelligible manner, the thing is to be present in an intelligent way. It is to be done in a voluntary manner, and the child will develop a desire to learn. That means
What is worthwhileness?
the teaching learning should be arranged in such a manner where we can say that the
Ma'am,
entire curriculum or the
ma'am, doubt.
should be based upon the interest or the needs and requirements of the child. And here it is to be, the child-centered curriculum is to be focused. Voluntarily the child should come up to learn. That is the law of readiness. Here it should be intelligibly arranged. The child should develop that curiosity. The things are to be arranged in such a manner it will develop a curiosity for learning. He should not feel bored. The entire learning process should be very interesting. It should not be tiresome. It should be motivating. Then only we can say that it is a process, it is an initiation where the child initiates to learn. The learning or the desire to learn should come from the child, not from the teacher's side to impose. Gone are those days where the traditional education system was there, where teacher-centered way of teaching was there, and teacher used to dominate the teaching learning process. Those days are gone. Now we are focusing upon child-centered curriculum, constructive approach, use of technologies. Then we move on to intersubjectivity, the impersonal standard. What is that? Here, any method or content of education must satisfy the criterion of this essential intersubjectivity of education. So here, different subjects or different concepts or different knowledge is not to be given in just like watertight compartments. Subjects should have interrelationship. For example, taking the example of social studies, we have geography, history, civics. Three of these disciplines are interrelated. History talks about the time. Geography, the place, the condition, the climate, the temperature, the environment. Civics, the type of social life the people used to live, the political scenario, their civic sense. So all these three are interrelated. So intersubjectivity is an important thing. Here, the modern educationist theorists are of the opinion that any kind of command or direction given to the child is against the very spirit of education. But this concept of education may not be very true, especially in the case of less intelligent children. Again, while teaching, commanding, or forcefully doing a thing is not real educating, is not the real process of education. One should not force a child. Let the child, let the child learn by himself. Let him develop the own desire to learn. But in some cases, commanding, instructing, directing is required. When a child who has less IQ or who is less intelligent in comparison to his classmates, that child has to be guided, has to be instructed, sometimes commanded also. Then, so education implies standards, not necessarily aim. It consists of initiating others into activities, mode of conduct, thought, which have standards written into them by reference to which it is possible to think, act, feel, with varying degrees of skill, relevance, and taste. So, one has one should develop the initiation for rational thinking, acting, the feeling aspect, then developing the skills, and also the curriculum should be relevant enough, and it should satisfy the individual and also help the individual to lead a good secure future life. Then what is education and learning? Learning can take place formally and informally also. It does not always require organized, planned, systematic scenario. But education, here we say that education is something else. So learning is a process which results in a more or less permanent modification of behavior as a result of practice. By any change in the behavior of human being resulting from physical or physiological maturation cannot be considered as learning. Learning can be positive as well as negative. So here, changes due to your growth and development, maturation due to body parts or different physiological changes, all these things do not come under the concept of learning. Those things are natural. But when we go for learning, we have to see two things. That is, learning is both positive and also negative. Here, the positive learning are considered as education. The negative aspect has no place in the term education. So all those positive learning are termed as education. Learning can be both positive and negative. Here, again, education is compared to learning seeks to mold the entire personality of an individual. In other words, focus of education is on the whole man. We learn small things, and these small things in a combined way is termed as education. We learn etiquettes, we learn to behave in a good way, we learn to be socialized, to become rationalized, we learn how to read, we also learn how to smoke, but that is not education. So, education focuses upon all positive learning and to the entire development of human persona. Not only a particular aspect, that is not focusing upon only the physical or the mental or the social or the emotional. Rather, overall development or all-round modification of behavior is termed as education. Then what is teaching? Teaching is an act of transmitting learning experiences to the learner through generation of a conducive learning environment, the purpose of which is to provide learning desirable learning experiences and thereby help him achieving the goals of education. So teaching is a process where Learning experiences are given or handed down to the learner in a conducive learning environment. Conducive means a suitable, a proper environment which is helpful for the learner to learn, which suits to his desires, interest, attitude, age, which pays emphasis upon individual differences also. Teaching is to provide the learner desirable learning experiences and thereby help him achieve the goals of education. If the learning situation and conditions are desirable, then education is initiated by the learner. That is, the learner himself feels interest enough, he has interest enough to learn. The teacher has no requirement of forcing him. The child himself is interested. He has the curiosity to know. He has the desire to learn. Then education.
Ma'am, hello, ma'am.
Yes,
Ma'am, sorry for interruption. Actually, ma'am, I have a question
yes.
that on education and learning. There was a concept of negative education, and
Hmm.
now we discussed about negative learning. Is there any connection between two?
Negative education is all about Rousseau's concept of negative education. Let the child learn by experiencing himself. For example, if the child touches fire, and then only the child will able to learn that fire has a harmful effect upon his hand. So negative education is something different. It is not the name negative which is directly implying on it. So here negative education, let the child hurt himself and learn. Let the nature teach him directly. Human beings should not interfere in the teaching process. This is the Rousseau's concept of negative education, which says that let the child, you let go the child, let the nature teach him what is right, what is wrong. Let him suffer and learn. No one should restrict. If he is hurting himself, let him learn from what he has got or received. Let him learn from his mistake by himself. If he is falling down, let him stand up by himself. So negative education is what one should not advise anyone. You let go, let the nature teach. It is left.
Ma'am, therefore we can say,
What?
therefore we can say, therefore we can say, negative learning proceeds towards negative education.
Wait a moment, I'm not able to understand. Let me hear you. I'm not able to understand.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, unmute yourself. We are not unable. We are unable to listen to you. Ma'am, ma'am,
Ma'am, I
unmute
can't
yourself.
hear you.
Unmute yourself. You have muted yourself. Unmute your mic.
I can't hear you, ma'am.
Ma'am, unmute yourself. Okay, ma'am. Yes, it's
Yes,
all
yes,
right
yes.
now. Ma'am, I am asking. So, therefore, can we say that negative learning directs towards negative education?
No, no.
You got the question?
Yes, I understood.
Okay, okay.
You are focusing upon the word negative. Don't go by the word negative. Negative education and negative learning is not similar. Negative education is all about Rousseau's concept of negative education, which says that let the nature teach and the nature will instruct, and accordingly the child has to face the circumstances. If he hurts himself, then let him learn through that also. One should not advise a child. Let the Circumstances teach him. Let him or her understand how, if he puts hand into the fire, he gets burned. Let him suffer to that. That is all about negative education. Negative education has an importance that no one is to instruct. The child will be able to learn from the environment directly without anyone's support. Let the mother nature be the teacher. That is important. And negative learning is different thing. Positive learning, negative learning, there are two types of learning. That is, someone is teaching another how to bribe, someone is teaching another person how to cheat in examination. These are all negative learning. There is nothing like negative education. Education is a value laden term, and it always focuses upon the positive side. So here we say that negative education is a concept given by Rousseau, and presently the learning concept which we are talking about. So in that particular concept, we see that learning and education are two concepts where learning has two parts. One is the positive, another one is your negative. Okay?
Yes. Okay, ma'am. So there is no connection between these two.
No, no, no.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. I had a doubt since graduation.
Okay,
Thank you so much, ma'am.
okay, okay. Okay. So education and training. So education and training, then prior to that, education and instruction. So what is teaching learning can take place both in natural and controlled environment. In natural environment, learning occurs when an individual interacts with the component of the environment in an informal and unorganized manner. But when the teaching learning tasks are purposefully designed for the individual to achieve predetermined learning goals in a controlled environment, it takes the form of instruction. So here, education is a lifelong process. It is from womb to tomb. It has wider connotation, but instruction is very specific. Here, it is pinpointed. We get instruction for some specialized courses. It is predetermined, it is planned, and it is always carried out in a formal setting. Then we have predefined learning goals, and in a controlled environment it is carried out. Education and training. So training is a systematic process of developing desired skills in particular aspects of life or vocation through instruction and practice. The main objective is to develop specific skills. For example, nursing training, teaching training, we go for some cooking course, driving training. These all are termed under the training concept. Whereas education is something more than that. Here, education is the development of all the different aspects of human personality. Then we move on to schooling and education. So schooling is what? Schooling is a formal setup where we get a formal atmosphere. One has to lead a very disciplined life over there. There is a fixed timetable. Teachers are there, curriculum is there, examination is there, admission procedure is there. All these things are deliberately arranged, systematically arranged. Even the knowledge that is provided in a school is pre-planned, and that goes in a systematic way. It has some limited time also. Whereas education refers to a broader range of life experiences. It goes beyond your school life also. So, according to the wider meaning, education is a broader concept, lifelong process, continuous process, whereas school life or schooling is a part of your entire life. Then who is a teacher? A teacher is a person who has the specialized skill, who has all the
Ma'am,
professional qualities.
ma'am,
Yes. What happened?
Again, I got a question. Ma'am, so training is a part of education.
What? Hello?
Ma'am, so training is a part of education. Uh, Hello.
Yeah, you're not audible.
Hello.
Yes? Speak up.
Ma'am, so I'm asking, training is a part of education, right? Can we say training is a part of education?
Yes, training is a part of education.
Ma'am, am I
Training is,
audible?
yes, training is a part of education
Ma'am.
where we get some special, we learn some special skills, where we learn some special skills. That's why we can say that a person is going for a nursing training or a teacher training. These are special courses. They have some limited time span. They have some limited subject matter. One has to develop these skills. And education is a broader concept. All these things you see, that whether we go for learning, whether we go for instructing, whether we see training or we go for schooling, all these things come under the umbrella concept of education. Everything is coming under the concept of education. Some or the other way they are related to education. Education is something bigger than that. These are all different small concepts related to the very bigger concept of education. Understood?
Ma'am, what is umbrella
Yes,
connection?
ma'am. Got you.
What?
Ma'am, what is umbrella teaching?
Umbrella concept means it's a bigger concept. For
Okay.
example, when you open up an umbrella, ଯେତେବେଳେ ଛତା ଖୋଲା ହେଇଯାଏ, ଛତାଟା ବଡ଼ ହେଇକି ଖୋଲିଥାଏ, ଛତା ତଳେ
Okay.
ସବୁ ମଣିଷ ରହିପାରନ୍ତି. The education is just like a big chata. Under it, different concepts are coming under it. It is a bigger concept. That means it's an umbrella concept which has smaller things underneath it. It is a saying. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So who is a teacher? A teacher is a person on the inside. He should be very much attached to the teaching learning process. That is, he or she should not only have the professional qualities. He should be skilled enough in the teaching skills, should have knowledge about child psychology, should understand what are the different techniques of teaching, the methodology, should have idea about educational philosophy, educational sociology, educational psychology, should be a master of the content area which he or she is going to teach. Again, should have a flexible quality or attitude, should not be rigid, should give respect to the child, should not hurt the ego of the child. Even a small child of kindergarten has self-esteem and ego. One should not insult a child in front of others. Otherwise, he or she will be demotivated. He'll not love to go to school. He'll hate the school. Then, no liking towards subjects, no liking towards the teacher. Then finally, no liking towards education. He'll find some or the other way to skip the classes, to avoid school. But if a teacher who has all these qualities, just like a combo pack, if the teacher is affectionate, dedicated, honest, has a transparent relation with the student, has a motherly affection, patience is there, then students are there who say that even on Sundays, make me ready, I want to go to school. This shows that how much they are attached to their teacher. A friendly atmosphere is to be created in the classroom. Then only teaching and learning will be carried out in a smooth way. Okay? So good personal relationship is required with the student. Then we see that concept and meaning of knowledge as a discipline. So what is knowledge? So knowledge is the sum total of man's interaction with his environment and his interpretation of the same. How the individual interacts, how he interprets, the way he reacts, all these things come under the sum total of all these things is known as knowledge. And what is a discipline? We say that psychology is a discipline, we say history is a discipline, education is a discipline. So discipline is an organized body of knowledge, network of concepts are there, generalizations are there, where we read the interrelationship of some particular kind of concepts. They are arranged in a fashion in such a way they move from simple to complex. They have their own theories attached to them. They have a particular structure. Again, sometimes they also have different branches. For example, education and psychology are two different subjects, but these two disciplines, they interact and meet where? In educational psychology, where we say that the psychological principles are applied in classroom situation so as to modify the behavior of the student, because psychology is the study of behavior and education is the modification of behavior. When these two combine, what is the result? That is the modification of the behavior in a classroom setting. That is the main focus of educational psychology. So here, knowledge is produced by a variety of disciplines. For example, if we take biological theories are concerned with the organization and movement of matter in living systems, knowledge may be regarded as a set of assertion or verifiable truth which researchers in the discipline have built upon about the domain. So here, knowledge is something which the researcher has got after experimenting, after verifying, after searching substances which suffice or which provide support towards a particular concept, that that particular concept is true and is authentic enough to be known as knowledge, to be called as knowledge. So here there are two different structure. One is the substantive structure, another one is synaptical structure. So what is a substantive structure of a discipline? Is the interrelated collection of powerful ideas that guide research in a discipline. That is, in a subject, that is in a particular subject or a particular discipline, we have some interrelated concepts and ideas. So these all things are arranged in a systematical way. The structure of the very subject education, what it consists of, the body of education is arranged in a systematic way. And the function part is another thing. One should have a structure and function also. So here, the function part is the synaptical structure. What is that? Here it is concerned with the way which substantive concepts are formed and the ways in which different kinds of knowledge statements generated by the discipline may be validated. It is concerned with the modes of thinking and reasoning used in the discipline. The way we think, the way we justify a particular thing, the cause and effect relationship, the reasoning capacity, all those things come under what? That is your synaptical structure. Synaptical word, it refers to the reasoning and the thinking aspect. And the structure or substantive structure refers to the interrelation of different ideas. Then we see different categories of knowledge. What are they? Propositional knowledge, procedural knowledge and direct knowledge. What is a propositional knowledge? Knowledge that or knowledge of what is expressed in true statements. That is, those knowledge are written or expressed in true statements. Procedural knowledge, knowledge how or knowledge how to do a things. That is the process. Procedure, that means the process. So the knowledge which gives or which talks about how to do a thing, that refers to your procedural knowledge. Direct knowledge, knowledge of person, one's own mental state. That is the way the person has perceived or sensitized a particular thing. That is his direct knowledge. So, proposition whose truth can be decided only with reference to observation. That is, statements or proposition whose authenticity of truth can be verified only by observation and verification is known as, yesterday I was saying, that is a posteriori proposition. But when we see that is truth or falsity can be decided by pure reason without any verification with experience, that is a priori proposition. So mathematical concepts refer to a priori concept or proposition. That is, sum of three angles of a rectangle is equal to 180 degree. That is a priori proposition. Again, scientific knowledge or scientific ideas, they go for a posteriori type because science focuses upon experimentation, verification. Therefore, these propositions, that is a posteriori proposition, they require evidence, they need experimentation and verification. Okay. Then what are the different types or forms of knowledge, nature of concepts, tests of truth and examples of propositions? So here we say, for example, in physical science, we see concepts that are ultimately referred to the sensible world. That is, the idea of physical science can be achieved from the environment. Through the sense organs are the gateways of information and knowledge. Then we have to test it through our observation. For example, at constant temperature, the volume of a gas varies inversely with its pressure. This particular thing comes from physics. Formal logic or mathematics, the knowledge of concepts in mathematics takes out relation of a general abstract kind. Mathematics has always to do with abstract thought process. So here, deductibility within an axiom system. The base angles of an isosceles triangle are equal. So here this particular statement refers to the proposition of a mathematical discipline. In the similar way, the first statement referred to the discipline of physical science. So here there are some examples given for formal logic, physical science, moral awareness and judgment. There are also aesthetic, religious and philosophical understanding also. And along with them, concepts are also attached and test of truth is also there. Test of truth means to know whether they are truth or false. Then examples of propositions are also there. Then we move on to applied discipline. So applied discipline is what? For example, biology and engineering combines to give bioengineering, biotechnology. Applied physics is something different from the parent discipline, that is physics. Then if we study environment, we go for biology, geography, geology, physics, chemistry and education. So these are multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary areas. Then education as a discipline. So education as a discipline, what is it? So it has different problems. There are educational problems varying considerably in scope and complexity, but here there are some techniques or procedures which these problems are to be tackled. And we have to take the help of psychology. We have to take the help of sociology. We can go to search answers in philosophy also. So these are the different subjects which help in solving the educational problems or which assist the discipline known as education. So here we can say that for planning curriculum to understand the learner's intelligent level, emotional dimensions, behavior, psychology is helpful. If we have to see the sociological aspect, then school as a subsystem, the school community relationship, socialization as a process, then we have to refer sociology. So in this way, these subjects are quite helpful in understanding education as a discipline in toto and the status of education as a discipline. Then we see what are the dual perspectives of education. That is, education implies transmission of what is worthwhile to those who are committed to it, and education must improve knowledge and understanding and some kind of cognitive perspective which are not inherent. Education rules out some procedures of transmission on the ground that are lack willingness and voluntaries on the part of the learner. So we do not call a person educated who has simply mastered a skill. So we have to see that education is a broader concept, or as I was saying, it is an umbrella concept or a bigger concept which includes what? Here it includes the skills, the specific training, idea about or mastery upon the subject matter. One should know the technicalities and should also use it for the upliftment of the entire society. One should understand the worth of that particular subject. One should understand how to use it for the benefit of the society, not for the only his own selfish interest, not only to earn money, but also to do some social service. That is, education implies that a man's outlook is transformed by what he knows. That is, the qualities which he is having should get manifested or should be exhibited through the behavior. All these things which we are reading, studying, everything is good for attaining marks. That is a separate thing. But are you going to use this for the betterment of your own personality development and also for the development of the society? What is the very essence of education? That is important. To be modernized by wearing good clothes, having stylish ornament, to be in vogue or in fashion, that is a different thing. But are you literally carrying out those thoughts and exhibiting it in your behavior? One should not have sectorial interest. One should not be selfish. One should have a broad outlook. One should have fellow feeling. One should have universal brotherhood. You should you should not have a biasness towards a particular religion or a caste or a class. A person who has all these is said to be an educated person. So it is a process which is intentionally transmitted, is valuing an intelligible and voluntary manner which creates in a learner a desire to achieve. So a desire to achieve, move forward, to do something for the society. Let my knowledge be helpful for others. For example, a doctor, a teacher. These two professionals are respected and treated like God. But are they doing justice to the very profession? That is a big question mark nowadays in this materialistic society. Then, a social perspective.
Ma'am,
What?
ma'am, I need a little more light on knowledge. So I have two questions.
Hmm.
One is, do knowledge changes? And in addition to this question, is knowledge modifiable in nature? And another question is, does knowledge has a truth base?
What is the third question?
The third question is, does knowledge has a truth base?
Has it truth?
Base, truth base?
Okay. Your first question was that whether knowledge changes or not. Yes, it changes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes.
Why we can say that? Because the new things through experimentation, through different kinds of scientific analysis, we discover, we invent new things. So the knowledge which was considered to be valuable yesterday, now it is considered to be outdated. Prior to the computer technology world, there was something known as, you must be knowing, pager. After that, some phone came that is with antenna and only numbers were there. Then we move on to some Bluetooth system and radio was available in the mobiles. Then we passed on to some touchscreen phones. Again, we move on to some high versions of the Android phones where we can have WhatsApps and all those things. So this knowledge was not there prior to 30 years, 40 years. People, they were not aware of this kind of knowledge. But knowledge has changed. And this is truth also. Because we can give proof about it. We can show that. Gone are those days is only a beep was to come, and in that pager you'll only get a message. No one is using that because that knowledge and that usage is outdated now. So according to the pragmatist view, knowledge that satisfies your desire, that is workable, that is only acceptable. That is only truth, as I was saying yesterday. So here, there are some knowledge which keep on changing. There are some that is the a priori are fixed. For example, three angles of your triangle, or we can say that mathematical knowledge are fixed. But knowledge relating to scientific area, that keeps on changing depending upon the new inventions, depending upon the new discoveries. So yes, knowledge is changeable. Knowledge is changeable. It is based upon truth. It can be verified. And it has some workability also. If it doesn't work, then it becomes outdated. So we have to change our pattern of teaching, including the subject matter. Those things which are outdated are to be discarded from the curriculum. And those things which will help the child to earn his livelihood, to tackle the different problems of life, only those things are to be included in the curriculum so that the child will develop the problem solving capacity to meet the situation, to be an effective member of the society. And education will enhance that potentiality. And if education does not provide this kind of knowledge, then what's the use of it? Then we can say that that particular thing is not worthwhile. So that is not the very concept of education then. So in this way, everything is interrelated. Okay?
Yes,
So,
ma'am. I got it.
okay. So here, every society believes in education as a potent instrument of social change. So as we know that social change, one of the important tool of social change is what? Education. So education has a great importance attached to it. And for that, schools also hold an important position in the society. because schools are considered as miniature society. This is the first place where the child comes out of the shield of the protective environment of a family and faces the world, the big dirty world. One has to adapt to the situation, adjust to the situation. There are some bad days, some good days. There are some bad experience, some good experience. Right from the school days, one tries to imbibe or learn and develop different qualities so as to adjust to the situation. Sometimes situation overpowers the individual, and sometimes individual struggles and fight backs and comes out successfully. So in a way, education has an important role for social change. Through the process of schooling, the educated individuals are created, or in a formal setup, they learn how to lead a disciplined, civilized, rationalized life. So education is a term which is used for both. We can say that if we go for informal education, that is your a type of education which is found in the family, which is given by the family, peer group, neighborhood, society, community. Everything comes under your informal education. But when we see the formal part, that is provided in the educational institutions. So then we see what are the different area or the scope of education. Area or scope of education is a different thing. For example, in a book, we have the content. Content shows what are the different things that are included in the book. In the same way, the area or the scope of education says about what are the different concepts or subsectors that are dealt in the field of education. The first one is what? That is scope of education with respect to different learning environment. We have informal, formal, and non-formal. As I was saying, the informal learning environment is what? That is your family is the first school and your mother is the first teacher, where the child learns life skills, attitudes, mannerisms, and whatnot that will make him a good individual. That is interaction with the family members, with the friend circle, with the society at large. It is not an organized and structured institution. And here, learning is incidental. Nothing is planned, nothing is organized. We don't have a timetable in a family what to teach, what not to teach, when to teach, how to teach. Our mother doesn't stand up with a book and open up to the page so and starts saying that. It comes spontaneously. If a child does something wrong, immediately she tries to rectify. For that, she has no lesson planning. Therefore, it is an informal thing. Here, it is experimental in nature and experiential. Also, from the word experience, this thing has come. From experience, we learn a lot. In family, we have good experience, bad experiences, and each and every experience is said to be educative. Again, it is a lifelong process. We always stay in our family, right from birth till death. So we learn a lot from it. We interact and learn. Then we see the next one, that is the formal setting. So formal setting is what? Here, primary objective of formal education is to provide knowledge in a systematic way, in a formal setting. It provides knowledge that is required for what? For your that a type of knowledge which has some specific aims and objective. Prefixed goals are there. Aims are there. There is a specific admission procedure. There is an entry age. Even there are some entrance tests also. Then we have specific curriculum. We have a particular delivery system, that is the teaching learning transaction. Then The headmaster, the principal, the teachers, they are the authority in a school. They look after the administrative part. Then there are some learning objectives which we have to achieve. So all these things, they are the different aspects of formal education. It is to be carried out in a systematic, organized manner. Then what about non-formal education? Seeing the demand of education, it is growing day by day. We have another sector or scope of education, that is between the formal and between the formal and informal setting, that is the non-formal system. What is it? Here it is an organized activity which takes place outside the formal setting, and it has some predetermined educational objectives. It is focused upon some specific target. For example, your adult education program, your health awareness program, your literacy program, programs specifically for school dropouts, distance education program. These are coming under the non-formal sector. We have goals and objectives. Some of them are short-term goals and objectives. Here, these specific educational goals have pinpointed specific area of interest. That is, to have literacy program or to have some health camp. Then timing. It is a part-time educational institution. Then we have specific needs of the target group that is to be considered while providing the curriculum facilities. Then teaching and learning process is flexible in nature. It is flexible in nature in comparison to the formal setting. It is self-governing and democratic. The organizers, they select at what time to provide education, what are the subject matters or areas to be covered, and there are some formative and summative evaluation system. Then here we see that there are different commissions also they support regarding non-formal education in India, which goes for part-time education to meet the educational requirements of children who are out of the school, who are dropout, who go for working, that is, who are in child labor. So, according to 1964-66, that potentialities of part-time education widen the access of primary education. So this part-time education has also helped in increasing primary education facilities for the students. Then we see what is scope of education with the view point of major focus of the study of knowledge. That is, what is liberal education? The word liberal means to get free, that is freedom. This particular thing started in the Middle Ages in Europe, where the university education provided liberal education or liberal arts. That is, to develop the intellectual ability of the students, faculties of human mind, that is reasoning, logical analysis, intellectual ability, ways to develop the power of intelligence, imagination. The very word comes from the word term liber, L-I-B-E-R, which means freedom. And here education in all, knowledge, the science and art, these all knowledges are provided. Then it respects the autonomy and freedom of the learner. Nothing is imposed. It has two important components. One is the trivium, another is the quadrivium. So what is a trivium? Which comprised of grammar and logic. It is the art of reading, writing, speaking, listening. These all come under the trivium part. And quadrivium is what? It consists of your mathematical aspect, that is your arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, music. That is, it helps in the development of observing, calculating and measuring. Then what is professional education? So professional education deals with specialized knowledge, applicant for what? Those knowledge which is focusing upon some practical social situation. Practical social situation, it is just like doing a social service. So professional education is social service oriented rather than a leisure time intellectual pursuit. So here one learns to earn money. One does not learn for learning's sake. He or she learns to have a good profession or to earn something, to have better life, and it is a social service. It is a specialized body of knowledge. It keeps on updating itself. The latest knowledge is to be taken into consideration. The thing which you were asking, that whether knowledge is changeable or not, yes, it is changeable. It has been proved over here, because continuously new knowledge is to be taken into consideration. Even the teachers have to be up to date, well conversant with the new technologies. Now teachers have to learn how to use a smart class, how to use a digitalized blackboard, smart board. No, days are gone where you used to use blackboards. First we used blackboard, then we had green board, then we had whiteboard with markers, then finally digital blackboard for a smart classroom. So here knowledge is changeable and one has to upgrade with these knowledges. Then we have to see that in professional education, we have code of ethics. Some rules and regulations are there. There are professional members are there. They form different groups. Here, for example, All India Association for Teacher Education is a national level professional association for teacher education. The Bar Council is an example for the lawyers, an association for the lawyers. Then what is a vocational education? Vocation is what? So the need of vocation education was mainly catered to by various informal agencies of education like family and community. So prior to this industrialization and modernization, family used to provide or teach the younger generation about the family vocation. କୌଳିକ ବୃତ୍ତି ଯୋଉଟା ଘରୁ ଶିଖା ଯାଇଥାଏ। कार्पेंटर पिला कार्पेंटर हब, कुंभार पुओ माठिया ही गढ़िव। Gone are those days. No more a carpenter's son is doing carpentry. Ascribed status has been changed by achieved status. Ascribed status means the status which is there from your birth. That is, Brahmin son will always go for religious activity. Now these are concepts are outdated. Now we are focusing upon achieved status. Even a Brahmin son becomes a sweeper because he is not, if he has not gone through a proper education and if he is not educated, then he'll do a work which will according to his educational ability or qualification. So here we are focusing upon what? So vocational education was something which was prior 2 years back, it was given by the family, but now it is considered as an activity of institution. Therefore, we are having vocational education in our educational institutions also. So vocation education is provided in our educational institution so that we will be able to earn good livelihood. Here we see that training of people is done in specialized vocational areas, and in the Indian context, it was first given by in the year 1854. Wood's dispatch was the first commission which was the first dispatch which suggested about introducing pre-vocational education. Then the Sadler Commission in the year 1917 made intermediate colleges with arts, science, medicine and engineering as subjects. Then we also find basic education in the Wardha scheme of education of Gandhiji. So here we see that time and again, if we go through the pages of history or Indian education system, we find that Indian education system has given importance upon vocational education. So here according to the Apprentice Act of 1961, we have 6 major categories of vocations. What are they? Agriculture, engineering and technology, health and paramedical, home science, science and humanities. So these are some of the important categories which cover the different kinds of vocations attached to them. Then we see the technical and management education, which is an important component of human resource development. So in India, the structure of technical education has 4 levels. First, a certificate level, then the second, technical education, that is the diploma level. Training is offered to, for example, in polytechnics. Then the third level, technical education, that is the degree level, for example, in engineering. The fourth level constitutes of postgraduate or doctoral level. So that also we find in your engineering and technology, for example, MTech and all. So then we see education from the viewpoint mode of providing, that is face to face education. In traditional classroom, teacher and taught both are physically present face to face within the 4 walls of a classroom. So that is always found in a formal classroom situation. We can also
Ma'am,
find it in a Gurukula ashrama system. What?
ma'am, professional education and vocational education seem to be
Yeah,
very similar.
seem to be very similar,
So,
but professional education is right from the starting and origin is always provided by specialized trained individuals, whereas vocational education, the main thing started from the family, which I said that ascribe status and all. But after that, it was taken over by institutionalized, or institution took it to it, and then nowadays institutions provide vocation education. So if we compare, professional education is more systematic, more specific, with a very focused scenario in comparison to the vocation education.
yes. So if we differentiate, then what would be the point there?
Well, first basic point is depending upon their origin. That is, professional education was always started in an institution, whereas vocational education started in the family background. This is the very first thing. Second is that vocational education is not so formalized in comparison to the professional education. Professional education is always in a formal setup, and it is always focusing, some code of ethics is there, some important associations are attached to it. It is to be carried out in a professional, there should be professionalism is to be maintained. There is nothing known as vocationalism. Ethics is to be taken into consideration. There are some rules and regulations regarding in professional groups.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So, but at the end, both prepare the individual for a profession, for a job.
For a job, but profession provides for a higher end job, something very refined.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, I got it.
Teaching is a profession, it is not a vocation. It has some professional ethics attached to it.
But carpenting is a vocation,
It's
right,
a
ma'am?
vocation.
Yes, ma'am. I got you. Understood.
Okay.
Yes.
So next we see, one was the face to face, another one, a face to face is a formal education setup, which is also found in the Gurukula ashrama setup, where we see that the guru and shishya, they used to sit in a Gurukula ashrama, that was a residential setup, where both the teacher and taught used to stay together and learn together in a face to face mode of instructing. But in distance education, we find that the teacher and taught are physically separated. Here we see it is an alternative form of education. There are some different types of characteristics attached to it. What are that? What are they? Correspondence study is there. We get the study materials at home. We choose our own time slot of education, and continuing education can be provided. Self instruction, programmed instruction materials are also there. So these are some of the important features of distance education. Then we compare face to face and distance education. One is that face to face there is close contact, whereas in distance physically separated. Distance education is self-pacing, or it depends upon the speed or pace of the learner, whereas here in the face-to-face, it is always the teacher who dominates. The teacher decides the time to be given, or the teaching learning proceeds according to the speed of the teacher. Then we have library and other resources as lectures, discussions in your face-to-face situation. Whereas in distance system, we have what? That is, we get some CDs or books or study material through postal system. And here, peer contact is there. In your traditional face-to-face system, all the students, they are there present in the classroom, the classmates are there, which you will not find in your distance mode. Like presently, all of you are there, but in your respective homes. So you don't have physical contact. Then we say that stringent entry qualification is there. Entry qualification is very rigid and complicated. Here, relaxed entry qualification. Reasonable number of learners benefited at a particular time. There is no admission procedure is closed. You are not allowed, no more seats are there. No such thing happens in a distance education. But this is found in a traditional face-to-face education system. There are limited number of seats. Then learner input includes contact time and private time. So here there is a time fixed timing is there. Timetable is there. In school, one after the another subjects are there. So here we say that learner includes in the distance education, the learner has his own sweet time. If CDs are provided to the learner, then when the learner finds free time, he can go through the CD, he can go through the books and accordingly get information and knowledge. Then we see that for distance education, it was first time started in Delhi University, that is in the year 1962. That was the first correspondence course which was introduced in India in the year 1962. And there are some different references are also given, that is milestones in distance education in India. I'm not going through year wise, it has been mentioned. Then we move on to what? That is characterizing education. That is the nature of education keep changing in terms of time and space. That is, for example, education as an initiation right from Vedic times we see in Gurukula Ashrama. We see that we have 4 types of ashrama. That total lifespan of an individual has been divided into 4 types. That is Brahmacharya, then we see Grihastha, then Vanaprastha, then finally the Sannyasa. So Brahmacharya is the time span within an entire lifetime where the individual leads the life of a student. Complete celibacy is observed, Brahmacharya is observed, and here one main focus is upon how to get knowledge from the Guru. So here we see that the concept of lifelong education was not there during the Vedic system, because we had 4 ashramas and education stopped after the completion of Brahmacharya. After that, one moves on to the family life, that is the Grihastha, then to the Vanaprastha, then finally to the Sannyasa. But now education is focusing upon continuing education, lifelong education. Now education is not restricted to only education that you get in the childhood. Now, even now, we can go for different courses on distance education. We can opt for more than 1 courses. So education is now considered as a lifelong process. A learner can be a learner throughout his life. According to his own desire, he can acquire knowledge. He can go for understanding different disciplines. So again, there is a question. The time slot of education. When the education start? Before or after birth? Some philosophers or scholars say that the moment a mother conceives, right from that moment, the fetus starts learning. You can take the example of Abhimanyu in the womb of Draupadi. But there are some who say that after birth, the child learns after getting interaction with the environment. But those who say that the child learns from the womb, that is, education is a womb to tomb process, they say that the mother should be provided a conducive environment, should be away from all negative environment, should lead a very comfortable life, and should develop positive habits, keep away from all sways of evil words, unworthy sights, so that subconsciously also this will not affect a child. So that the child is kept away from all the evils of the society. And the mother tries to have all good things, so that these all good things and thoughts will subconsciously affect the child in the womb. So in a way, education starts before birth also. Education as an initiation to the world of knowledge. So it is a lifelong process. To the world of knowledge, the world of knowledge has no entry and exit point. It doesn't have a horizon or a boundary. So here, education is there for a lifelong or a continuous process. So here, one learns something, then unlearns something, then again learns something. The things which he considers important today may not be so tomorrow. So according to the demand of the situation and time, he tries to upgrade his knowledge, to polish and refine his thought process, so that he'll able to adjust in the society. So the child becomes a carrier of words and concepts and becomes a social creature. After taking birth, when the child interacts with the family members' environment, gradually, slowly and slowly, the child learns new things. The process of assimilation, the process of accommodation, the process of equilibrium, all these things takes place, so that he is able to acquire new knowledge from the environment. He becomes a social being. Education as an upbringing of children. So here, parents have an important role in the upbringing and rearing of the child, because the child imitates what the parent does. In a home, if the home atmosphere is not good, then good qualities are not seen in the child's behavior. Here, it depends upon how well informed the parents are, how tactfully they are able to rear their child. Again, providing scope for exploration and discovery. Parents who are knowledgeable know how to protect their child, how to discipline their child, or pamper their child. Pampering should not be there. Overprotection should not be there. Let the child learn something by himself. But that doesn't mean Rousseau's concept. We should not let the child burn the hand. That is negative education. Here, one says overprotection should not be there. अतिरु इति जेमति न हो. If an overprotected child is not capable to take decision in his own life, when the child becomes an adult, he doesn't have emotional maturity. The child, that when he becomes an adult, he'll not be able to take decision. He is emotionally unstable, not capable to take decision, indecisive. He is not sociable, very shy, introvert, or maybe aggressive, spontaneous, irritable. These are the result of overprotection, pampering, or strict disciplining. You should not be very strict, and at the same time, you should not be very lenient also. You should be in the midway. So, providing time for play and relaxation. There is a saying that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Only study, study, study. Nothing to do with play and recreation or wastage of time. That should not be the thing. Because play and recreation helps to relax, provides us relaxation. So here, parents need to teach children to work and play and not just only to work. Because play and games help them to learn a lot of things. First, they provide physical development, better muscular coordination, proper health, and they also learn leadership quality, sportsmanship, team spirit, self-discipline, fair play, cooperation, understanding, mutual respect. These all things are very important. Then guiding children through code of conduct and timetable. So code of conduct is important. To make your child disciplined is important. Here we see that we should not leave our child just like a log of wood left on the waters. स्रोत उपरे गोटे काठी को छाड़ी देला भलिया छाड़ी दबनी से तार बही थाउ जुआडे जुआडे बही बही का जीव से अनुसार से सिखी सिखी का जीव सबु बेले दैट इज नॉट द कंक्लूजन और दैट इज नॉट द सॉल्यूशन. You should be watchful with whom your child is playing, what kind of friend circle your child is having, what kind of thought process the child is having, especially at the adolescent stage. It is a period of stress and strain. Whether your child is too imaginative, he'll go for daydreaming. Who is the ideal of the child? These all things are very important. And one should also have a proper timetable. It should be there. Enough time should be given for play. Enough time should be given for rest and sleep, and also for study. You should spend time with your child. You should discuss in day-to-day basis what are the problems he or she is facing. You should act like a counselor. You should be just like a friend, so that the child can confine the different kinds of feelings he'll be able to express with you. He'll be able to share with you. He or she should have the confidence that my guardian will stand by me. These all things are important for proper social and emotional development. Helping children nurture self-esteem. If you always say that you are worthless, you cannot do anything, you are good for nothing, then a positive self-esteem will never develop. If positive self-esteem does not develop, then confidence will die. One should not have overconfidence, but one should not lack confidence also. One should be confident enough to face the situations of life. Otherwise, seeing the situation, one will say that I am defeated. Without fighting, without struggling, you will say that no, I am not able to do it. I am surrendering. And the end result is sometimes committing suicide also. Disturbed mental state of affair. Then, upbringing of the child should be in the best possible way if parents follow the process of socialization in a good way. And what is that process of socialization? That is, here in this particular process, the child learns the different social standards, conducts, what is right and wrong, what is the value system. Child tries to develop the different kinds of five aspects that are major focus of socialization are cognitive development, acquiring morals and personal identity through family relationship, that is acquiring the self concept, idea of self concept, then integration of moral categories and values of group, then development of social skills, modification of individuals' behavior according to the acceptable norms of the society. Then only you have gone through the proper process of socialization. What is enculturation? Enculturation is what? Acquiring the value system or cultural patterns in your adulthood. Socialization is a process which is also seen in an informal way that goes on throughout your life. It doesn't need always a formal setting. But enculturation is something which is more formal in comparison to socialization process, where you learn cultural patterns in the stage of adulthood and specific skills you learn in enculturation process. It is more refined and specific in comparison to the socialization process. What is acculturation? Again, acculturation is what? More than one culture. You learn the qualities of more than one culture. And being a citizen of a country like India, where there is multiculturalism, pluralism, where there is more than one culture, more than one linguistic group people are there, different religious background. Here we find acculturation, and education helps in acquiring, or education helps in this particular process where we learn, interact, exchange, share the values of other culture. Again, education as an understanding cultural diversity. An educated person should make a person what? A person who is sensible, who understands others' point of view, pays respect to other cultural values, mutual understanding is there, mutual respect is there, patience is there, perseverance is there, tolerance is there. All these things are important. Then only we can consider to be a effective educated citizen. And education is considered as a process where desirable behavior is developed. Desirable behavior is developed in the sense the behavior which is desirable or which is acceptable in the society is developed through the process of education. And extension of undesirable behavior, that is desirable behavior, is developed in a classroom if the teacher is providing reinforcement, if the teacher is saying very good, good, keep it up, you can do it, yes, try. These all things are praise or reinforcement. This helps in the enhancement of positive behavior. And extension of undesirable behavior, if we see that if a child is crying for a chocolate, or when he has some temper tantrums, the parent they give chocolate and make him quiet. This should not happen always. This will become a habit of the child, and again he'll ask for chocolate, or he want to satisfy his own whims and desire. To avoid that, one should not pay attention at that time. Let the child ask, and after some time he'll be quiet by himself. So extinction of undesirable behavior by not paying attention toward it, that is also important part of parenting. Education as reconstruction of experiences. One has to reconstruct, one has to learn from your bad experiences. That is, your bad days are there, good days are there. The bad experience teaches how to move, how to modify our behavior. We learn from our mistakes so that we'll not repeat those mistakes again and again. That is, through trial and error process, we get or we reach to our goal. Learners' prior knowledge and its structure. It is very important. learner's prior knowledge should be the knowledge which is to be provided now should relate to the prior knowledge of the student. That is, past knowledge and new knowledge should have link. One should move from known to unknown, and these all knowledge should be organized in a hierarchical format from simple to complex. And learning is constructive, not receptive. Let the learner construct the new knowledge. Now we are focusing upon constructive approach. Only learner should not be only a receptive learner. Passive learner is not no more considered as important. Passive learning has no place. Rote memorization has no place. Now the learner is to understand a thing by himself, what he understands, how he expresses. After that only the teacher will modify the thing if the learner does something wrong. Let the learner experiment the things by himself, learn the things by himself. Then development of cognitive abilities. For example, if we see Bloom's taxonomy, first we have 6 different levels. First is the knowledge, then the understanding, then the application, then the analysis, then we synthesize a thing, and finally we evaluate a thing. One has to know a thing, then he has to understand the thing, then he knows the applicability, then he'll be able to break it down and analyze it into small parts, then synthesize it, able to summarize it, then finally find the value judgment, that is evaluate it. In this way cognitive abilities are also developed. Then we see the psychomotor abilities. This is again the second domain. We have 3 domains: cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Psychomotor deals with the doing aspect. Cognitive deals with the knowing aspect. Psychomotor deals with the doing aspect. And affective deals with the feeling aspect. So psychomotor abilities is what? We learn by doing. We learn how to ride a cycle by riding it by ourselves. That is, through the process, while doing it, we learn it. Then development of affective domains. That is, the affective abilities are developed, feeling aspects are developed. That is, through different subjects like poetry, literature, we try to develop the sense of beauty. The aesthetic sense is developed within the students. Finally, education as liberation. That is, attainment of salvation, attainment of freedom, removal of ignorance, moving toward the light, that is wisdom. So education is as liberation. Education is considered as a liberation. Here we consider education is something which will help us to get free from all kinds of bondages, freedom from bondages, restrictions, to know our real self, to connect with the supreme power. That is, Atma gets connected with Paramatma. Self-realization process. That is the ultimate aim of education. And that is why education is considered as a mode for attaining liberation. So in this way, we have completed the first block of MES-12, that is concept and nature of education. Thank you all and good night. We'll be having the next class tomorrow at 7 p.m. That is the second block, MES-12. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was really of great help.